Today will involve an update on this 3-gallon Pico, which the light will be on when I get home, and I'll pick up recording when I get home. I'm also going to talk about some upcoming projects that I've been working on, as well as the 90-gallon tank. So stay tuned. Just a quick update on the little Nano reef. Start out with some bad real quick because there's a lot. Got the flatworms. They're not gonna eat anybody, but they're definitely stressful for the tank. So I added a peppermint shrimp into this thing, and he's nipping away at my SPS. Bummer. And I'm pretty sure it's a peppermint because it does not look like a camel shrimp whatsoever. So that sucks. Keep an eye on that, but here's how it's doing today. Looks pretty good. It's growing in so nicely. Looks fantastic. The HYGGER does good. Meanwhile, we have the century-old planter turned into an aquarium. Had this little gap back here, naturally came with it, and I had this siphon scraper attachment, and I only finally realized it had holes in the bottom of it after I siliconed it onto the back. And these are 20 feet of tubing that will connect it to the main display. I think it should be interesting. I'm thinking of Gorgonian and Seahorse tank, maybe, in the future. We'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and keep going with it. I'm gonna work on the return line right now. Yeah, I think it's gonna look really awesome. I'll have 3 tanks now. And here we are, present day. HYGGER's still going strong, as evident by the dust collecting in there. Growing coral. Until my dumbass made a mistake, and it's an easy mistake. This being such a small body of water, it's easy to make mistakes. The red planaria earlier in this video, obviously you don't see him anymore, and that's because I got the Sallyford flatworm exit. That's the best stuff to use, and it does work. Works really, really well. Works so well that it will pretty much decimate any flatworm touching your water volume whatsoever. And that being said, the goal is to remove as many as you can to avoid the toxic die-off, because when they die, red planaria in specific, I pretty sure most flatworms do this anyway, but they release a toxin as they expire, and that's detrimental to your coral, potentially fish that you have in there. It's just not great. That is definitely one downside to doing a flatworm exit. So as I was saying, the goal is to remove as many as you possibly can physically first, and I did that. I vacuumed out over a couple days as many as I could see, and I even made an attempt to pour the water back in to, you know, not shock the system by draining the entire contents of the water in one day. And unfortunately, I saw no way around it other than to do that. So this tank got a 3-day water change, which is really bad. That was most of the water volume going in and out. So that was probably not the best idea. I didn't disturb the biological, so I didn't mess up the sand or try to get any detritus or anything like that. I was just focused on the flatworms. And I got as many as I could see. I spent about 2 hours, no joke, 2 hours combing through, getting all the tiny ones. I guess when you stress them out, they'll shrivel up to 10 times smaller than what they are inflated. And it's very difficult to see them, so you'll think you got them all, but you're quite far off. And that was happening to me. So 2 hours later, finished the job, and I see no more red planaria on day 3 of doing this. So about 2 hours each day, I'd say, just combing through, and I'm ready to do the drop. I put 4 drops of the flatworm exit, and almost right away I saw a couple floating in the water column. Obviously some I had missed. And then I saw more and more and more, and they just kept coming and coming. And eventually I realized something was wrong. And what was wrong was I had forgot that this tank has a refugium and a back chamber, most likely loaded with them. And it was absolutely riddled with them. So when I applied the flatworm exit, oh boy, they exited the chamber all right, all into the display, chopped up in the pump. I'm sure the toxins were in the water immediately. So that pretty much did that for me, and I just immediately started draining most of the water. I did a mini water change on the 90 gallon. I took most of the water from the 90 gallon, threw it in here. The different temperature water going into this tank was such a shock. That or the poison that they had maybe 5 minutes of contact with at the most was enough to cause them to bleach the next morning. So when I came out, that was pretty, it had some polyps showing some green, but it was pretty much ghost white. No, I didn't mean to break that. The digitata was pretty ghost white. It's getting its color back. I know that's going to recover. By the way, check out that encrusting and branching. As well as the yellow lepto and that bird's nest and the goldenrod. Goldenrod was bright, vibrant yellow, just like the lepto. And man, just that one flatworm exit was enough to do it. So that's where we are now. HYGGER is still going strong. As for plans for this tank, obviously we're gonna try again. I'm just gonna glue another green stylophora on top of that guy. I'm gonna glue another piece of bird's nest to this bird's nest, or swap them, we'll see. But I'm basically gonna fix all my mistakes and try over, give this light a proper test. But at this point, I think it's safe to say, yes, you can grow coral with the HYGGER Aquarium light. Pretty good stuff. Alright, I'm doing this really one-handed right now, so know that. A particular piece right here, where I'm pointing, and I don't want it there, so that will be the piece we re-glue. If you haven't picked up some of these, I forget what they're called, but they lock in place. Beauty. Great fragging tool. Looks shocking. That's just how they frag. Got the bird's nest right there. I also have a frag of it. Thinking I'll save the frag for someone else. Or maybe find a piece in the sand bed, because that is quite common in this tank. Okay, so I don't see any, so I'm just gonna try to take a branch. Unfortunately, I won't be able to record the angle for you. Okay, I'm gonna try to get a piece that was around the size that that one died at. Alright, we have our 2 replacement pieces. Now let's get them in the Nano tank. And if you're curious what glue I'm using, you can use any cyanoacrylate glue on saltwater aquariums. So if you see this at your local Walmart with the green lid and it's gel, not the runny stuff, you can use it. Since it's such a small piece, I'm putting quite a generous dab of glue. It's very important when placing frags to minimize the contact time with your fingers. You never know what type of oils are on there, even if you've cleaned them well. This has always been tough. Oh yeah. Shaky. I'd say that's okay. It's kind of funny on a white skeleton, but if you really get technical about it, this sort of thing happens in wild reefs all the time. Something dies, it's new real estate for someone else. So it's not the best camera angle. Oh boy. Okay. Now we got our side-by-sides, dead and alive. We'll see if either come back. I have my doubts on the green Stylophora. I think that one's pretty long gone, but if I'm looking really close enough, I can still see some life on the bird's nest, so perhaps we can save him, hopefully. But in the meantime, we have the replacements right next to him. I would have replaced the goldenrod, but that stuff's pretty nice, so we'll hold off until this tank's figured out until we do that. Now, as for the vintage aquarium that once sat there, I'm sure you can see the tube draining into my sump. Now, I've always wanted to do this, but I've always been too nervous. I don't even need the lens for this. This is my about 2-gallon DWARF Seahorse tank. Obviously it's plumbed into the 90-gallon. There's a bit of algae coming on here. We have 6 adult DWARF Seahorses in here, as well as the babies that you saw in the birthing video. I've had these guys for a couple weeks now. They're doing awesome. I ordered them from Caribbean Tropicals down in Florida. Big shout out to those guys. I initially wanted just the 2, and they sent me 6, and 2 of them were pregnant. So I actually got 2 births out of it, and I filmed both of them. So that was really cool. They also sent me a Gorgonian, which I'll have to fix. It's pressed up against the glass. This tank is still becoming established, keeping a close eye out for hydroids and anything that could potentially hurt the seahorses. I haven't seen much yet, other than some aptasia that I've killed back there. Keeping a very close eye on that. I'm feeding them baby brine, which I just recently harvested and fed them, and they're all sank to the bottom, or we're eating. They get those feedings multiple times a day, and they seem to be loving life. Quite happy with them. You can do tanks like this with seahorses because A, they like low flow or lower flow. B, they can have a smaller tank, especially dwarf seahorses, because they like to be safety in numbers close together, and honestly, it's hard to see them in a big tank. So this was just perfect for me. Oh, and they don't really need a heater or anything. They prefer cooler water, so I can just plummet directly into the 90 gallon from 20 feet away. And in theory, which it is true, by the time the water has reached them, which is just a slow trickle, it cools off quite substantially. If it ever gets too hot, I just take the lid off like that. And it's enough to ventilate it, keep it going. Just fantastic. I love my little seahorse tank. It's such a distraction, man. Love it. A little bit more about this planter. It's probably about 100 years old. It looks ugly because I painted it with silicone to preserve the wood. And it was in my grandmother's bathroom since I can remember. And I used to always look at it thinking there should be fish in there or some type of aquatic life. And here we are today. She let me take it home. And now it's a seahorse tank. So I thought that was pretty cool. Here we have a 20 gallon high. This is going to be a hospital tank for sure, because we're going to use medications in there. If we see anything wrong, I don't think I'll keep most of the decorations that are spike in here, but I do like the helicopters and the crashed subs. Those are pretty sweet. I think fish will like those too. Got some coral I'm holding for a friend. He's gonna get him back here very soon. Had an aptasia outbreak. We also got some hermit crabs in there. I'm being sure to feed those guys, so that's the main quarantine tank for now. Soon to be a frag tank, by the way. And this tank is going to move somewhere else, probably over by the seahorses, so that 20 high can sit on this stand. Stand's going over there. Then that frag tank in here is coming out right here. And then they'll both, the seahorse and the frag tank, will be plumbed into this 90 gallon. I think that would be really cool. And I could grow a lot of corals doing that. Here's the 90 gallon. Going very smoothly, actually. About 3 years and some change in. Look at those fish, man. They're all just so happy, super excited to see me. You know what they're here for. Food, of course. For the tangs, and by the way, some people get mad when you have 2 tangs and an angelfish in a 90 gallon tank. And it's true, that's quite a bit of bio load, I must admit. But if you keep a close eye on your nutrients, believe me, it can be done, as you can see. Got some frags going on right here. I don't really show these too much. I sell these locally here in Salt Lake. And you can hear, or rather see, a lot of color, some variety. Those are some nice pieces. Anyway, I must first address, some people were wondering where I've been, wondering why I haven't been updating on the Pico. Truth is, it's hard to find motivation these days, is part of the reason. The other half of it is very busy life. There's just a lot going on. And honestly, at one point I was trying to make videos, which you've seen in this video, little clips, but that's all I could get was clips, because anytime I try to make a video past, I don't know, a minute long, it would tell me my iCloud was full. I have way too many pictures of my fish. So yeah, that was a thing. Thought that was kind of funny. But believe me, there's a lot coming. Probably gonna film the whole process of this frag tank. Gonna get it drilled. I'm gonna show you how to plumb it into a tank easily. And no, the Seahorse plumbing is not permanent. I'm not gonna leave it duct taped to the wall. That was just a dry fitting, and I eventually let it hang, but I'm probably gonna get some C brackets and get them up on the studs. And yeah, all in good times. There's quite a lot to do in here, a lot of projects. So I guess just close out. I need to name these guys, but some days I forget who's who. That's a male. Just beautiful. Anyways, guys, that's an update for now. I hope it was enough to satisfy you for the time being. Believe me, there's more content to come, especially when we get these two going. Whenever that be. So stick around. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing.